Since a lot of you enjoyed the exercise ranking series, I decided to continue it. Today, I will be ranking the best and worst push day exercises for muscle building using this tier list. S-ranked moves will represent the best of the best, or in other words, the GOATs. While D-ranked ones, well, let's just say this is the trash section. I will rank these exercises based on 3 key factors: muscle activation, progressive overload, and the overall feel of the movement in terms of technique and stretch. A well-structured push day workout should target the chest, shoulders, and triceps. As you know, each of these muscle groups has its own subcategories. However, since this is a push day workout, you probably won't have 3 hours to isolate every single part of each muscle. This is where the ranking of each exercise comes into play. Ultimately, the goal here is to highlight which moves provide the best bang for your buck in terms of muscle activation and efficiency. Remember, this is a push day workout, not a dedicated chest or arm day video. That said, let's start with the chest since it's the largest muscle group out of the ones I mentioned. Our muscles are divided into 3 areas: lower, middle, and upper. To achieve that 3D chest look, you need to target all 3 areas effectively. Let's start with the decline bench press. Personally, I'm not a big fan of this exercise. For starters, it doesn't target the chest evenly. It places more emphasis on the lower chest, leaving the upper and middle regions underworked. On top of that, it's highly risky for your shoulders, especially if your form isn't perfect. In my opinion, the risk to reward ratio just isn't worth it. That's why I'm placing it firmly in the B category. But wait, what about the decline dumbbell bench press? Here's the deal. Setting up for this exercise isn't exactly easy, especially when you're going heavy. Without a gym buddy to assist, things can get tricky. Handling heavy dumbbells often leads to unnecessary swinging just to get into position, which can be risky and make progressive overload harder to achieve. That said, dumbbells do offer a better range of motion compared to the barbell decline bench press, which is definitely a bonus. Plus, you can perform this exercise one arm at a time, a great way to address muscle imbalances and build symmetrical strength. When I weigh these 2 exercises on a scale, both have their pros and cons. The downside, like its barbell counterpart, this movement tends to emphasize the lower chest more than the middle and upper regions. That's why I'm placing this exercise right alongside its brother in the B tier. Let's talk about one of the OG moves, the flat bench press. This classic move targets all 3 heads of the chest. If you leave your ego at the door and focus on proper form, this exercise easily earns a spot in the S tier. The cousin of the barbell bench press, the dumbbell bench press, offers all the benefits of its counterpart with an added advantage: a deep stretch at the bottom of the movement. But as mentioned before, getting into the right position with dumbbells can be tricky. This slight inconvenience is the only reason why I'm ranking it in the A tier. I know I'm gonna catch some heat for ranking this move here, especially from diehard fans of Jay Cutler. But hey, the comment section is open for debate. Next up, we have the incline bench press. Overall, this is a really good chest exercise, but it has a few small drawbacks. This variation of the bench press puts slightly more focus on the upper chest. Is that a bad thing? Absolutely not. Developing the upper chest is crucial for a balanced physique. However, when it comes to push day workouts, I prefer exercises that target all 3 areas of the chest more evenly. Another drawback of this movement is its limited range of motion, which can hinder full chest activation. Plus, if your form isn't spot on, it can increase the risk of shoulder strain, making it less ideal for long-term progress. This is why I'm placing this move in the A category. The same applies to the dumbbell variation. You're already familiar with the pros and cons of using dumbbells from the previous exercises, so I won't waste your time repeating myself like a broken record. That said, this movement earns its spot in the A tier. Can you sculpt an impressive chest using just your body weight? Absolutely. Dips are a fantastic option, and they are one of my favorite exercises. Beginners can start with assisted or resistance band dips, while more advanced lifters can add weight for extra resistance. But please, don't use weighted backpacks because you will get injured. Stick to a weighted belt or vest. And of course, there's always the classic bodyweight dip, which is also perfect. This exercise earns an S tier ranking. Another standout S tier bodyweight exercise for me is the push-up. You can't go wrong with it because it's effective for both beginners and advanced athletes. Just avoid using weighted backpacks or plates on your back. If you want to add resistance to your push-ups, opt for a weighted vest instead. You have a lot of variations to pick from, but my favorite one is the diamond push-up. Let me know in the comments which one is your favorite. Some chest exercises practically scream injury, and one of them is the bench chest fly. This movement places unnecessary stress on the shoulders and can also increase the risk of a chest muscle tear. Moreover, the muscle activation during this exercise is subpar. That's why we're placing it at the bottom of our list in the D section. A better alternative here would be the bench cable fly. With this exercise, you get a consistent and effective stretch in your muscles, along with plenty of variations to target different parts of the chest. For me, this is an S tier exercise. The pec deck is similar to the cable fly, but with more stability, making it easier to establish a mind-to-muscle connection. Properly adjusting the machine to your height is key to getting the most out of this exercise. Personally, I always feel a crazy pump after this move, making it one of my favorites. I'm ranking it in the GOAT section S tier. Next up, we have the landmine press. If you're aiming for better muscle activation, I recommend trying the kneeling version with both hands. However, the challenge here is that many people tend to target their shoulders rather than their chest. Additionally, this move focuses more on your upper chest. It's not necessarily a bad exercise, but it's not ideal for chest isolation. That's why we're placing it in the B section. Let's move on to the standing cable press. Honestly, I'm not a fan of this exercise, but this doesn't mean it's a bad move. I personally prefer to have my body more stable, which can be challenging with this move. Maybe I'm a little biased here, but I'm placing it in the A category. A better alternative is the seated cable press. The back support from the bench adds stability, allowing you to focus solely on your chest without worrying as much about maintaining perfect form, as you would with the standing variation. It deserves its spot in the S tier. If I have to pick the worst of the worst exercises, it's going to be the plate press. It's like an influencer-made exercise that's totally pointless. Definitely in the D tier for me. Now I want to talk about the Smith machine, which is a place where you can do many chest exercises. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a bad machine, but it's not exactly a gold star either. The position you're locked into isn't ideal for muscle activation and could lead to injuries. I put it in the B category. The dumbbell pullover is a tricky one. Personally, I've never quite understood this exercise and never felt it in my chest. Plus, I've never seen Chris Bumstead doing this on chest day, so yeah, that's a D. I want to give you one more exercise for the S category, and that is the machine chest press. It offers all the benefits of a regular bench press, with the added advantage of enhanced stability, making it even more effective for controlled and focused muscle engagement. Now that you know the best and worst chest exercises, it is time to move to the next muscle group, which is the shoulders. Our shoulders have 3 heads: the anterior, lateral, and posterior deltoids. To achieve that 3D shoulder look, you've got to hit all 3 heads. Lucky for you, I'm about to break it down step by step. First off, let's dive into the dumbbell reverse fly. It's a staple in shoulder workouts, aiming to hit those rear delts hard. But here's the catch. When you grab those heavier dumbbells, your range of motion takes a hit. Ever struggled to extend your arms fully? Yeah, that's the downside. Less range means less muscle activation and time under tension, which isn't ideal. While it's a solid exercise, it's not exactly king of the hill. I'm giving it a respectable B on our ranking scale. But wait, is there a way to make this exercise better? The answer is yes. All you need to do is perform the move on the cable machine. This will put the exercise on the top of our scale in the S tier. Now, let's tackle the dumbbell cheat lateral raise, a move that zeroes in on those middle delts. It might sound a bit unfamiliar to some of you, but here's the deal. You're grabbing slightly heavier dumbbells than usual and adding a touch of momentum to your reps. Sure, it's tempting to sneak in those extra reps with a bit of momentum, but let's be real, we're not about half-hearted efforts here. So, we're sliding this one right into the C tier faster than you can say cheater cheater pumpkin eater. Ever heard of the press out? It's like trying to open a jar with greasy hands. Technically, it works, but it's not exactly efficient. We're talking range of motion so limited it makes your grandma's Sunday afternoon walk look like a marathon. Sure, it targets the front delts and is beginner friendly, but it's far from top tier. Let's park it in the C tier and move on. If someone asked me to choose one shoulder exercise for the rest of my life, it would be hands down the barbell overhead press. This compound move is a powerhouse, hitting all your shoulder heads while giving your triceps and chest a little love too. When it comes to targeting those shoulders, this exercise takes the crown. It's an absolute must. So let's give it the honor it deserves by sliding it into the S tier. Just remember, keep that form tighter than your shoelaces. The machine version of this exercise is perfect, especially for people who have injuries or are recovering from one. Like me, unfortunately. Right now, I'm performing this variation instead of the barbell version because it causes less pain in the areas where I have injuries. The added stability of the machine also helps me focus strictly on my shoulders, making it a great alternative. The machine shoulder press is landing in the S tier next to his brother. Now maybe you're asking, what about the seated dumbbell shoulder press? This exercise is a true all-arounder, targeting multiple areas of your deltoids and serving as a fantastic overall shoulder builder. What sets it apart from the barbell press is the ability to independently control each dumbbell, forcing your stabilizing muscles to kick into high gear and potentially delivering superior results. However, it's crucial to execute this move with precision to avoid injury. While you may not be able to lift extremely heavy weights, this exercise is a powerhouse until you hit that wall. Until then, it's a must-have in your routine. That's why we're placing it once again in the S tier because, let's face it, it's an absolute GOAT. Next up, let's chat about the Cuban press. It's akin to the roller coaster ride of shoulder exercises. Sure, it's got its thrills, but that internal rotation on the descent? Not exactly shoulder friendly, my friends. Plus, the shoulder activation you're getting here is mainly from the pressing movement at the top. The rest is just fluff when it comes to shoulder activation. The risk to reward ratio? Let's just say it's firmly in the D tier territory, where the gains are as elusive as Bigfoot sightings. Something else that earns a spot in the D section is the upright row. This exercise is quite harmful to the shoulders and can lead to injuries. While it does target your shoulders, the risk to reward ratio doesn't stack up in my opinion. Can you sculpt 3D shoulders using just your body weight? The straightforward answer is yes. And the key? The handstand. But here's the catch. If you're merely kicking up into a banana handstand for a few seconds, you won't achieve much muscle activation. Now, if you're banging out wall handstand push-ups, well, my friends, that's a game changer. This vaults the exercise right to the top of our list, landing it squarely in the S section. Let's move to behind the neck press, the forbidden fruit of shoulder exercises. It's a classic, no doubt, but it's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Trust me, folks, it's a risk you don't want to take. C tier with a capital C because ain't nobody has time for shoulder shenanigans. The leaning cable lateral raises are hands down one of my favorite exercises. Why opt for cables over dumbbells, you ask? It's simple. With cables, you maintain constant tension throughout the entire movement. Dumbbells, on the other hand, lose that muscle activation at the bottom. That's why I'm putting the cable in the GOAT section S tier and the dumbbells in the A section. I want to share one more fantastic bodyweight exercise that will sculpt those defined shoulders you're after. What is this exercise? Well, it's the ring pike push-up. I'm placing it in the A section. Every time I spot a guy at the gym busting out plate front raises, a part of me dies inside. Sure, if you're training for the new truck simulator, knock yourself out. But if you're not, steer clear of this exercise. It's a solid D tier move in my book. The reverse pec deck is an amazing exercise for the rear delt, and you can't really go wrong with it. The stability from the machine and stretch are insane. Just make sure you set it up properly and don't overextend your arms. This one is going straight in the GOAT category. Let's not overlook the rope face pull. Here's a pro tip. Try using 2 ropes for an added challenge. If you're new to this exercise and need more stability, you can even do it on the ground. Trust me, this one's a game changer. Let's slot it into the S tier. One more exercise that tops our list is the Z press, a unique overhead pressing movement that eliminates any assistance from your lower body. It is performed seated on the floor with your legs extended straight out in front of you. Keep in mind that this exercise requires exceptional core engagement and balance to stabilize your torso as you press the weight overhead. If you're new to training, it's best to hold off until you've built a solid foundation. However, if you have at least a few months of experience under your belt, give it a shot. It's definitely a top tier S move. Okay, now it's time for the next muscle group on our list, which is the triceps. Did you know that they make up a whopping 70% of your arm's total muscle mass, leaving the remaining 30% to the biceps? With the ocean of triceps exercises out there, it's easy to feel like a lost sailor. But don't worry, now we will simplify the chaos. Our triceps have 3 heads: a long head, a lateral head, and a medial head. For you to achieve that 3D triceps look, you need to target all 3 heads properly. And that's exactly what we're going to do now. Let's kick things off with the skull crusher. Scientifically, it's hailed as one of the top tricep exercises, targeting all 3 heads of the muscle. There are 2 variations here: lowering the bar towards your forehead or behind your head. The second option provides a deeper stretch and muscle activation. You can use an easy bar or dumbbell. The choice is yours. Now here's the scoop. While the Skull Crusher reigns as a triceps titan, it's not without its challenges. Many beginners struggle to nail perfect form, risking unnecessary stress on their elbows and potential injuries. That's why, in my humble opinion, it earns its place in the A category. Meet the cousin of the Skull Crusher, the dumbbell overhead extension. Now, while this move can offer solid muscle activation, let's talk about the risk to reward ratio. Personally, I find it leans a bit too much towards risk. This exercise puts too much unnecessary stress on your joints, which can lead to injuries. Don't get me wrong, the exercise offers perfect muscle activation, but in my opinion, there are better ones out there. I'm giving it a B. The better variation of the dumbbell overhead extension is the standing overhead cable extension. This is the crown jewel in the triceps building kingdom for the long head. It offers a deep stretch on your muscles while simultaneously putting significant tension on the triceps due to the constant pressure from the cables. A slightly better variation here, in my opinion, is the leaning overhead cable extension. You can also perform both variations with one arm at a time for better muscle isolation. When possible, I always prefer doing exercises one arm at a time. This helps me a lot with the mind-to-muscle connection. I am definitely ranking them as S-tier movements. I bet you've been eagerly anticipating the close grip bench press, right? Well, hold on to your weights because here's the scoop. While it's a solid move, it's not exactly a triceps isolation superstar. Nope, this exercise is a bit of a multitasker, targeting your chest and shoulders too. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad exercise by any means, but when it comes to triceps isolation, it's not exactly leading the charge. It's still in the game, just not taking home the gold medal. That's why we're slotting it into the B category. Let's dive into dips. No, not the nacho kind, but the exercise. Now, if this were a calisthenics video, dips would likely be stealing the spotlight. But since we're exploring both bodyweight and weightlifting exercises, I've got to be real with you, dips are landing in the A section. Here's the deal. Just like the close grip bench press, dips are a bit of a multitasker. While they definitely work your triceps, they're also targeting your shoulders and chest. If you still decide to do them, make sure you keep your body upright to put more pressure on the triceps. Leaning forward will target more of your chest. While we're diving into bodyweight exercises, we can't overlook diamond push-ups. Let's keep this one brief because, you guessed it, it shares similar limitations to dips. That's why it's landing in the B tier. Moving on to the machine tricep pushdown. I know that not every gym has this machine, but for those who have access to it, it's a solid exercise. You can achieve good progressive overload with it. The machine's stability makes it perfect for both beginners and advanced athletes, helping you build a strong mind-to-muscle connection. This one is going in the A section. Bench dips are also a widely spread calisthenics exercise. However, the lack of progressive overload and minimal tricep activation make this exercise a miss for me. That's why it's landing in the D section. Next up on the list are lying crossover extensions. Absolute garbage of an exercise. Never even think about doing it. It gets a hard D next to the bench dips. Alright, let's move on to an absolute classic, the triceps pushdown. This exercise is a staple in many workout routines, and for good reason. Here, you have the option to use a straight bar, V-bar, or rope attachment, each offering a unique twist to the movement. Personally, I find all of them effective, but I have a soft spot for the rope attachment. The rope allows for a greater range of motion and better isolation of the triceps, giving you that extra squeeze at the bottom of the movement. A pro tip? Switch between all three variations for maximum gains. This not only keeps your workouts fresh and exciting, but also ensures you're targeting your muscles from different angles, promoting balanced development and preventing plateaus. Incorporating variety in your exercises is key to keeping your muscles guessing and growing. And here's the kicker. They all earn an S-tier rating from me. Whether you prefer the solid feel of the straight bar, the comfortable grip of the V-bar, or the versatility of the rope, you can't go wrong. Each attachment brings its own benefits to the table, making the triceps pushdown a must-have in every program. Moving on to the dumbbell triceps kickback. The issue with this exercise is that you only achieve significant triceps activation at the top of the movement, which doesn't make it ideal for muscle building. That's why it's going in the C tier. A better alternative to the dumbbell triceps kickback is the cable kickback. The cable machine's rope applies constant pressure on your triceps, addressing the issue found in the dumbbell kickback. This significant improvement elevates the movement to the S tier. Next, we have the cable crossbody tricep extension. This is a great exercise for targeting the long head of the triceps. The only drawback is that most people don't know how to perform this exercise with the correct form, which leads to less muscle activation. However, despite this limitation, it still lands in the A category. it's time for me to share my all-time personal favorite tricep exercise, and that is the elevated bench cable tricep extension. This isn't your everyday exercise, but trust me, once you try it, you'll fall in love with it. The only hiccup is the setup, especially the first time you do it. But after a few sets, you'll get the hang of it. The gains you'll achieve are absolutely worth the initial hassle. I'm placing it right at the top in the GOAT section, S tier. We're all familiar with that machine tucked away in the corner of every gym. Yes, I'm talking about the tricep extension machine. It sits there quietly, often overlooked, waiting for someone to give it a try. The path of this machine isn't really ideal for optimal triceps activation. Unlike free weights or cable systems that allow for a more natural and adjustable range of motion, the tricep extension machine tends to lock you into a fixed path. This rigidity can limit the engagement of your triceps and even put unnecessary strain on your elbows. Moreover, the seated position often required by this machine can reduce the effectiveness of the exercise, as it doesn't allow for the same kind of core stabilization and muscle coordination you get from standing or more dynamic movements. In my experience, this results in a workout that feels less intense and, frankly, less satisfying. That's why I don't recommend it, and why it lands in the C tier. There's simply much better options out there that offer more freedom, better muscle activation, and a more effective workout overall. Now that you know the best and worst exercises for your push day workout, you might be wondering, should I only include the S tier exercises in my routine? Actually, you can mix in some of the A tier exercises as well. These moves are comparable in terms of muscle activation, progressive overload potential, and overall effectiveness, offering a great balance of proper technique and optimal muscle stretch. The other question you might have is how many exercises should you include in your program? I recommend selecting anywhere from 1 to 3 exercises per muscle group. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions regarding these or other exercises, and I will do my best to respond as fast as possible. If you found value in this video, it would mean a lot to me if you could give it a like and subscribe with the notification bell so you don't miss out on future content. Thank you all for the amazing support. And if you want to achieve a Greek god physique naturally, make sure you watch my video series where I rank the best and worst exercises for muscle building.